Hey everybody, welcome to our first ever Math League Town Hall. That was the best name I could think for it. Got some great new information that I want to share with you all today. And I see we got a lot more people showing up now that it's right at the top of the hour. So I'm going to go ahead and get things started. We are recording this, so we'll be putting the video up on YouTube so that people who weren't able to attend the meeting live will be able to watch the information as well. So it looks like we've got a pretty good crowd here. I recognize a lot of the names. Glad to see you all here. Yeah, so let's one thing I do want to mention is, like I said, this is our first time that we've done kind of a public meeting, where anybody who's a member of the Math League community can join. And I'm kind of interested in your thoughts. Some of you may be inclined to email me later. Let me know if this is something you'd like to see more of, something you'd like to see happen, regularly, monthly, yearly, whatever. I know we have a weekly meeting set up where I open it up to the Math League staff members, and it's always nice to just have a space for people to drop in and ask questions and find out about what's going on. And that's basically what I've got on the agenda for us here today. So speaking of agenda, let's go ahead and take a look at what I anticipate covering here. So we've got, I want to talk a little bit about the calendar for the rest of the school year. I want to talk about updates on how to qualify for state, updates to our prizes, and then we've got a Q&A. So basically, all the information I'm sharing here should be good news for you. You're like, so in terms of the calendar, you'll be like, oh, that's wonderful to hear. How to qualify for state. Oh, everything's the same. Plus, there's other stuff. Wonderful, right? So we've got some exciting new stuff that I want to share with you, and I want to get right into it here. Okay, so the chat is off right now because I want to make sure that I can focus on getting you the information that I want to get out to you without being distracted by a bunch of chats coming in. We do have a Q&A session, a Q&A time scheduled at the end. So if you have any questions, please start writing them out. You might type them up in another app on your computer so that you can copy and paste it over when I do open up the chat. So I will be opening the chat a little bit later, and love to see what sort of questions you have, either about the stuff I'm announcing here or anything else that you're interested in. All right, so first thing, let's talk a little bit about the calendar for the rest of the year. Basically, a lot of this is information a lot of you already know, but I want to kind of reiterate some of the opportunities that students have to participate in contests over the next few months. First off, our in-school tests are live. The middle school test is presumptively expiring today, right? So in other words, you're supposed to have your middle school test in today for the in-school test. And then, of course, we've got the elementary and the high school coming up in subsequent weeks. If you are planning, if you're hoping to give the middle school test out, but you haven't had a chance to do that yet, I can grant you an extension until the end of this week if you send me an email tonight. You can either send that to my personal email, tim@mathleague.org, or you can send it to customercare@mathleague.org. So please note that only applies to those of you who are watching this live. If you're catching this on YouTube in 2025, I can't really help you out there. All right, so we do still have those in-school tests live for all three age groups, elementary, middle, and high school. And like I said, the middle school is supposed to expire today, but I can give you a little bit of a pass if you send me an email and let me know when you can get it. We have plenty of online and in-person qualifiers. So if you in addition to the in-school tests, we've got opportunities for students to participate in-person contests in a lot of our markets, as well as online contests everywhere. So we are in as February right now. I just actually came back from a 2-week trip to the U.S. where I ran a bunch of contests there in person, and we're gearing up to run a bunch of online contests this weekend and next weekend. So this is round 5 of the qualifying season. We do have round 6 coming up in March. Remember, round 6 is a qualifier for elementary and high school, as well as most of the states for middle school. However, round 6 is the state championship for middle school for certain states, the ones that we needed to hold a state championship because there were so many people who had qualified. After that, we have round 7 in April, which is a little weird because round 7 is an elementary qualifier for all but 5 states. It is also an elementary district championship for the 5 states that have districts. At the high school level, round 7 in April is going to be the state championships, and round 7 for middle school will be our April 15th national championship for middle schoolers. So that's what's happening in April, and then moving on to May, which is round 8. We have our elementary state championships in May, as well as our high school national championship. Then we've got our elementary national championship in June. For any of you who are here from outside the U.S., we also have we'll be squeezing in the national championships alongside the U.S. state championships. Most of those will be in late April and early May, and then we'll be having our international championships in July. So we'll be announcing more about that later. For those of you in the U.S., we may have some information for you as well about international championships. I'm not going to say anything just yet, but we're going to make some announcements here probably within the next couple of weeks. I may even do another one of these sessions, depending on how big of a deal the announcement about the international championships will be. But as far as the district, state, and national championships in the U.S., those are all up on our website. So all the district and state championships have been posted at this point, and we have placeholders for national championships. So you at least know what the date is for each of our national championships, but we don't have any information yet because, well, none of you have qualified for nationals yet. I guess some of the middle schoolers have qualified for nationals, but we wanted to at least get the dates up, and then as we start running state championships, before we start running any of the state championships, we'll have information up about nationals, so that once your students go to state and realize they qualified for nationals, then they'll be able to go to the website and see, oh, here's the information about nationals. All right, so all the dates are set at this point. All the postseason, all the district and state championships are online, ready for people to sign up. So that's great. I do want to mention, as far as the district and state championships go, basically what we did at this point is a lot of you will remember we sent out a survey last month and asked for people's opinions about running district and states online versus in person. Also asking, do you have a place where we could hold a contest in person? So basically, if it looked like people in a given area were interested in an in-person district or state championship, which, by the way, interestingly enough, it looks like pretty much everywhere people are up for an in-person championship these days. So that's good to know. We'll be sending out surveys each year about this, of course. But the survey results this year were much more in favor of in-person championships than they were last year. Now, keep in mind that just because you won an in-person championship does not mean you're going to get an in-person championship, because it all depends on whether your school is available to hold a contest for us. All right. So we did get a lot of people who are like, yeah, we'd love to go to an in-person contest, but not in my backyard. Right. So there's only so much we can do if we have 50 people saying, yes, we would love an in-person championship, but 0 of those 50 actually have a place for us to run it. All right. So basically, anywhere that we had a place where we could run a district or state championship in person, we've scheduled that, and all the rest were online. Now, moving on to national championships, we are, after our experience last year, where we decided it was necessary for us to hold a hybrid national championship where students had the option to take the test either from home or at the national championship headquarters venue. We've actually decided that this is going to be a permanent feature of our national championships. Basically works out to be an equity issue in the sense that we don't want to prevent students from who are qualified to go to nationals. We don't want to prevent them from going just because they had something else going on the same day that they couldn't be in two states at once, or maybe they come from a school district that is really struggling financially and they don't have the means to get all the way to a national championship, that kind of thing. We don't want people to miss out on the national championship experience because they can't afford to, or because there's some sort of emergency in their area, public health concerns or whatever else might crop up. So we are committed to holding hybrid national championships again this year, and our plan is to make that a permanent feature of our national championships. So next up, I want to talk a little bit about the qualifying process. There's two major things that we're going to be doing that I hope will appeal to everyone. Number one is going back to the concept of differentiating states. So those of you who were around last year are aware that last year we had, for our online contest, every state had its own event. Even though we might have 300 students in one Zoom room, they might be split out into like 8 or 15 different events based on which state they were in. We consolidated all those this year when we went to having online contests 2 weekends a month instead of 3 weekends a month. Logistically, it worked out, but what we didn't anticipate was that there were some people who were sort of counting on, maybe even relying on us having the states split out separately. And we heard from some people about that, and we took a look at it and we decided, okay, we're gonna go ahead and revert back to what we did last school year. All right, so basically from now on, every state will be split out into its own event. This is going to apply to all online, in-school, and on-demand contests. Now, you all probably most familiar with the online contests because that's what we've been doing. That's where we had the states split out for the last couple of years, and we only started consolidating them again this year. But this will apply to the in-school test. So I know there's some wording on our website right now that talks about the in-school test. We'll split out states if we have above a certain threshold. We're going to just split all the states out. All right. So, first off, this decision has already been made, right? So, I'm certainly interested to hear if any of you, for some reason, have a thought go through your mind. Wow, that's going to make a lot more students qualify for state. How dare mathleague do that? What were you guys thinking? This is a terrible, terrible thing that more students are going to qualify for state, right? If those thoughts are going through your head, I do want to hear about them, okay? And I will give you a chance in the Q&A session later on. But our staff is pretty unanimous in agreeing that splitting the states out like this is going to give us more students qualifying for state, and that is going to be a wonderful thing. All right. So if there are other perspectives on that, I'd love to hear them. But my guess is that all of you are probably sitting there thinking, "Wow, what took mathleague so long to do this?" Just one of those things that it kind of got wrapped up in the process of changing our scheduling around this year, and it wasn't until people started commenting on it that we're like, "Oh, okay, maybe we should go back to what we were doing before," because people seemed to like it. So there we go. So yeah, every state's going to be split into its own event. Like I said, this will count for the online tests like we had done in previous years. It'll work for the in-school tests, which will be for rather than having to have 50 students or however many it says on the website, we'll just do it for all of them. And it'll apply to on-demand contests as well. Now, you don't know what on-demand contests are yet, because that's the next slide. I do want, before I get into that though, I do want to mention that this is retroactive. All right, so we are going to be going back to the first 4 months of this year, splitting those contests out by state as well, which means that a lot of your states are going to end up with a lot more students qualified for state. So I think that's certainly a wonderful thing. Students like qualifying for state. We like recognizing students for how wonderful they are at math, and we think this is going to be a great way to do it. All right. So, all right. I think I need to talk about on-demand contests because you all saw that term and you're wanting to know what this is. So right now we have, and this I think is probably the biggest announcement that I'm making, the most game-changing aspect of our operations, and that is the introduction of what we call on-demand testing. So right now, you're aware that we have, for most students, there are two possible modes of taking the test. They can go to a test center and take the test in person. And I saw a bunch of you in Arizona and Texas this past week, where we did exactly that. All right. Then there, of course, is the online test, and then we're introducing a third mode of testing now, which is going to be on-demand testing. The way that this works, and this link is not yet ready to go, we are going to be launching on February 27th, but I wanted to give you a little bit of time, a little bit of a heads up to let you know what's going to happen and a little bit about how it's going to work. So basically the idea is, some people want the full contest experience. You go to an in-person contest, you sit there in a crowded room, taking tests with a bunch of other people. You get people clapping for you when you go pick up your trophy, all that kind of thing. Some other people are like, well, I love the live aspect of it, a little bit of interaction, but I can't, maybe there's not an in-person center near me, or maybe it's not at a convenient time or something. So you do the online test. Great. But for people who can't do either one, we're introducing what we call on-demand testing. And what this is going to be is an opportunity for students to take the test in their own home, supervised by their parent, on their own time. All right, you could take it at 2 in the morning, you could take it at 8 p.m., whatever works for you. This is going to be available for 1 week after all the in-person and online contests are done. So the way our schedule has been set up this year has been the first 2 weekends pretty much are, the first 2 weekends are exclusively in-person contests. The last 2 weeks of the month are where the online contests happen. And now we're going to have, we're going to bleed over into the next month with a week worth of on-demand contests. All right, so you'll be able to check out some information about that. I have a little bit to show you right now. So I do want to mention kind of how this came about a little bit. I want to demonstrate a little bit about the system for you so you can kind of see what's going on with this on-demand testing. So the paradigm that I want you all to adopt, if the concept of an in-school test means anything to you, and it should mean something to all of you because we're right in the middle of in-school testing season right now. I want you to think of on-demand testing as basically a perpetual state of in-school tests. All right. So in other words, and I should mention this right now, the plan at the moment is that we will not have a separate in-school test next year, but rather every month is going to have a week of on-demand testing, which schools can choose to use for an in-school test. So basically, if you think of it this way, it's like instead of having one in-school test a year, we're now going to have one every month. And I know there are a couple of, I'm just looking at the list of people who are here, and I can see a number of people who have helped out in developing concepts like that are similar to this in their own states. In particular, I see some people here from Arizona, Florida, and Missouri who have been specifically instrumental. I'm not going to call out any names right now because this is all going on YouTube later. But you know who you are, and I really appreciate the the work that several of you have engaged with us in over the last couple of years, particularly in helping to develop new ideas for how to set up tests. For instance, I know I'll mention in Missouri, we have a test available. We've been doing this like in additional months aside from the in-school test, where schools can sign up to administer the test in their own schools, and it's part of one big event that all of Missouri is part of. What we're doing here with the on-demand testing is very much like that also, right? So it's very much like having an in-school test every month. It's very much like the test that Missouri is giving right now in their local contests. And the idea is to make this process a lot more flexible for more people. Right. So that next year, for instance, instead of saying, "Oh, I have to do the in-school test between January something and February something," you can take your in-school test at the end of October or the end of February, whenever it is that you choose to do it, and you can do it every single month. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the pricing here. One of the things that is really useful about having an on-demand test system, which is something that we don't have to monitor necessarily. We don't have to have staff watching over your students taking the in-school test, because we're trusting that you as teachers are going to be doing that instead. What that does is it allows us to offer some pretty steep discounts for volume users. All right. So for instance, if you are a school that has traditionally been taking the in-school test, I think a lot of you know that the in-school tests have been $5 a student recently, as opposed to whatever your in-person or online contests are charging. If that's something that you've been taking advantage of, hey, let's get a huge group of students together so we can do it all for $5 a student. That will still be available to you. We're going to have pricing structures that are very responsive to demand, in the sense that the more students you bring from a school, the less it's going to cost per student. And we're going to, and again, this will all be rolled out on February 27th, the details. But the idea is, if you have, if you have a bunch of students, the price goes down, and at some point it goes down so much that we're just like going to hand you a site license, and you can have as many students as you want taking the test. So basically, the idea of having an on-demand test system essentially means that mathleague staff are no longer required to monitor the test. If we can have the teachers monitor the test for us, then you can give these tests out whenever you want. All right. Again, within that 1 week window. So we've introduced a number of automation features. I'm going to show you some of those here in just a moment that will enable us to do this. And of course, once we've done that, then that's going to create a lot more flexibility for those of you who are teachers, in terms of being able to take advantage of volume discounts, like I said, administer tests within your own school as frequently as once a month. So anyway, there's a lot of stuff that is really interesting about the possibility of doing on-demand tests. And I'm sure some of my staff members who are here today are going to remind me of that in the chat. When it comes time for the Q&A. I'm sure you're all going to have some questions about it as well. But basically, that's the paradigm that I want you to think of. This is basically taking every month's test and turning it into an in-school test. In previous years, including this year, as I was setting up the in-school tests in December, I found there was a lot of work that I had to do, a lot of special steps that had to be taken in order to turn a test into an in-school test. But we did a little bit of work over the last couple of months and realized that, hey, there are some things that we can kind of do on a streamlined basis, especially once we have the automation working the way we need to, that will effectively allow us to do an in-school test every month. And that's the way I want you to be thinking about the on-demand testing. All right. So we are working on pricing structures, like I said, that will allow for substantial volume discounts, but we'll also we're also going to try to make sure that we keep the pricing in such a way that it's not going to completely sabotage the work that we're doing with the online and in-person contests. So take a look on February 27th, and you'll be able to see some information about how to make this work. I want to show you a little bit about the actual mechanics of it, right? So I have created, and by the way, one of the things that you're going to find on this website, mathleague.org/on-demand, you're going to find a way, calendar of upcoming contests that you can sign up for. You'll also find, some instructions to very clearly walk you through the process, because, our staff isn't going to be there watching over you like we would with an online contest, for instance. So there will be very clear instructions. There will also be an opportunity for you to test the system, right? So what you're seeing right now is the sandbox that I've prepared for all of you. When you go to our website on February 27th, you're going to be able to sign up for a practice test. And this is the practice test, event number 10049. You're not gonna find this on our website anywhere. This is the practice test. You're gonna be able to sign up to take a practice test for free. It will spit out an ID number for you, and then you're just gonna take the test. So let me go ahead and show you what this looks like. A lot of you are familiar with this page so far because this mimics our online test system. I hit submit, and this only worked because my ID number matched my last name. Again, those of you who are familiar with our system will know that if there is a mismatch, then things don't work. You'll get an error message. That's to prevent other people from trying to log in as you. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and put the password in here, and I want to show you what the difference, some of the new stuff that's going on here. And I need to go back in and fix something there real quick. Hold on a second. This is okay. I got to get in my database. We have some security measures that apparently were already enabled for this particular login. So I'm going to need to adjust that real quick. So bear with me for just a moment, and I will get that fixed for you. 119527. I'm just going to copy that over into the database and get that all fixed for us. All right. Okay, so basically, let me explain what happened when I tried to click on this just a moment ago. When I tried to click on this a moment ago, that's not the password. That's my ID number. When I tried to click on this a moment ago, it went straight to the confirmation page. And the reason it did that was because the password had expired. So this is part of the control system that we have in place for on-demand testing, right? We don't have a MathLeague staff member watching over you, telling you that it's time to finish the test, and then closing off the password at the end of the test. So what we have now is a system where when you type a password in and go to this test, by the way, this was test 12210. So this was our in-school test a year ago, just so you know where this comes from. So what happens now is that on that previous page, when you type in your password, it's going to come to this page and show you the test. It's also going to timestamp when you put that password in. And that's where this timer comes in, right? In fact, and so we've got the timer embedded in the screen now, right? So that's a change from what we had done, what we've been doing with our online contest for a long time. And actually, our online contests are going to start moving towards this as well, because now every student can see the timer on their own screen. So we've got the embedded timer, and we have a place where you can submit your answers. Right. So, if I put in, 1 for my first question, 3 for my second one, the submit button is right here now. So I click that, and it shows me the confirmation. Now I can go back and re-enter the test if I want, right? Target 1, 2, and we are working on some streamlined navigation features here. But target 1, 2, I hit submit. I'm going to put that password in again, and check this out, folks. When I go to the test this time, look at the timer. I have, 4 minutes and 3 seconds left. That's because the timer is based on when I first started the test. I can't fool the system now into like starting over, right? Because 2 minutes and 13 seconds ago, when I started that timer, the system knows I've seen the questions now. So I've got 6 minutes from that time to submit my answers. And of course, and this is also a feature that we have enabled at our online contest now as well. So we're going to have the timer showing up like this on everybody's page, and that's actually going to track back to the contest MC. All right, so the contest MC is going to be the one setting the timer for everyone, and everybody's timer is going to show the same thing, right? So again, if I come back here, and click go to test, again, my 6 minutes doesn't start over because it's measuring against when the actual start time for the test was. If you're taking an on-demand test, that start time is going to be whenever you first click the password. If it's an online contest, it's going to be whenever the MC first clicks the password, so that everybody's working off of the same time. So those are a couple of features that we've added here in the last few weeks that we're now ready to roll out, not only to our online contest, but this will help in terms of being able to deploy our on-demand contests, because now we don't have to rely on somebody over Zoom showing you what the amount of time that's left is. It'll show right here on the screen. Okay, a couple of other features I want to point out. Like I said, we do have this. We've moved the submit button to the top right next to the time left. One of the reasons that is useful is because, and you're not seeing this on the target round right now, but if I were to call up the sprint round, for instance, and I believe I actually can call up the sprint round. Let me just do that real quick. So let's call up the sprint round, and I believe I have a password here for that. And yeah, so if I call up the sprint round had the same issues. I had the same security features on for the sprint round. I'll show it to you in a minute. But for right now, what I actually want to do is get back to target 1-2 because I need to show you one other feature that we have built into the system. So you'll notice I've got a minute something left on this, and you'll notice that even when I went into the sprint round and got barred by the system because I had the extra security on, the target timer is still working, right? Let's go ahead and do that real quick with a sprint though, because I think I've got a moment to do that. So check this out. If I go into sprint and I should have my 40-minute start time here. Yeah, there we go. So notice the 40 minutes is from when I click the button. And if my internet connection is taking a couple seconds to load the test, then yeah, it's going to start me at like 39:59 or 39:58. What I want you to notice is that yes, we have all the instructions and everything, but as I scroll down to the questions, the timer is persistent at the top. The submit button is persistent. The timer is persistent, regardless of what I'm doing down towards the bottom. All right, now I do want to come right back, and I've been stalling for a little bit, admittedly. I want to go ahead and go back to the target 1-2 just for the end of it here, because you'll notice now that we have 8 seconds left on the target. So it's counting down. I'm almost out of time. What happens when the time runs out? How much longer can I have to submit my, I don't have any time to submit my answers. You notice what happened there, folks? I didn't click the submit button. We now have auto submit enabled. And yes, we are deploying that immediately into our online contests because we can. But again, this is going to be a tremendous benefit for our on-demand students, because now our system is going to know that you've spent this much time, you've had this much time to see the test, and it's going to auto submit for you so that it basically closes you out. Now that I've done this, if I come back and try to take the target round again, all right, target 1-2, go into submit, I hit my password again, and you'll notice that it immediately comes over to this page. I did not have any chance to type any answers on the target round at that point. All right. So that's a little bit about what the system is looking like nowadays. And this we'll be deploying this immediately to our online contests. All these improvements about the auto submit and the persistent timer at the top of each student's page. But this will also help us as we get our on-demand testing going. Because it's that this is what will enable us to make sure that everybody has the right amount of time available for their tests. All right. So anyway, that was the big thing I wanted to talk about today was the on-demand testing and how basically what this does is it gives us a chance to have effectively an in-school test every month. And again, for those of you who are teachers, we're looking forward to being able to sort of mass produce this thing, right? Giving you volume discounts. So there will be that. Now, the one thing I should mention is that because obviously we're not watching students' cameras with the on-demand testing the way we are with in-person and online contests, there are two major issues that brings up from a security standpoint. Number one, obviously we're not going to start the week of on-demand testing until all of the live contests are done, right? Because we're not going to give people a chance to take a look at something on demand and then go to an online contest later that month and be like, haha, I've seen all the questions already, right? So that's one thing. The other thing is we're not going to be giving prizes for this, right? And that's consistent with what we've done for the in-school test as well. No prizes, just a chance to qualify for state. So if you are interested in prizes, or maybe talking about prizes because there's another big thing I'm really excited about with that. But if you are interested in prizes, if you're interested in the live experience, then you're going to want to go for the in-person or the online contest. So basically, each one of them has their own strengths and weaknesses, right? And the great news is you can change that up from month to month, right? One month you do an on-demand test, and maybe the next month you go to an in-person contest, and each month you get to choose whichever one of these you want to do. Now you can't do two of them in 1 month, just like you can't go to two in-person contests in 1 month because it's the same test, right? But if you want to take the February test, in fact, for the February test, you have all three of these options available if you haven't already gone to one of the tests. So the in-person is where you get the full contest experience. It's live, it's interactive, it's social, it's fun. They're all fun, but I mean, this is the most fun. And I think anybody who's been to one of our in-person contests will definitely tell you that. You prefer taking the test on pencil and paper. We do have some students who've expressed that to us. They really want the paper and pencil experience. That's what you get at an in-person contest. You like, seeing the trophies handed out at an awards ceremony. And of course, most importantly for an in-person contest, if you can get yourself to a test site, because, that's sort of the limiting factor for a lot of people. Right. So right now, for instance, if you live in, I don't know, North Dakota, you don't really have much in the way of options for getting to an in-person contest. And that's why we have so many options, so many other options available for you. Right. Online contest is where, it's got the interaction of a live contest, but the convenience of an online test. The online contests are, of course, eligible for prizes. Anything that's on our prize list online, you can claim as an online participant. I do want to point out, and I'll be talking more about prizes in just a moment. One of the things that we've been doing ever since we resumed in-person contests is most of our in-person contests, we have trophies that we hand out. Sometimes we hand out trophies to people at in-person contests who maybe they don't even qualify, but we have, we've got some trophies available, we'll hand them out, that sort of thing. So there is a slight difference in terms of what's available in terms of prizes. But I will tell you that other than trophies, the online contest, you can choose any of the other prizes. And with the in-person contest, that's one of the advantages of being at an in-person contest. We actually hand out trophies at a lot of those. But I'll talk more about prizes, and I think you'll be happy with some of the things we've done with prizes here. So online contests, you do need a strong internet connection in order to make that work, right? In fact, that's probably true with the on-demand test as well. If you don't have a good internet connection, but you can get yourself to a test site, maybe do that instead, right? And of course, for the online contest, you've got to be willing to follow all the instructions and the test security requirements. And I know this has been a sticking point for some people in the past, right? We've had, I'm going to be perfectly honest and transparent with all of you here. Every single month we get some parents emailing us saying, my child decided not to follow the instructions at the online contest. Now that the test was 3 days ago, here's my child's number since test. Please grade it. No. All right. So, that would be like at an in-person contest. Somebody, driving over to our, to our Florida office on a Tuesday, being like, "Oh, here's the number since test I forgot to hand in on Saturday. Can you grade that now and see if my child gets a trophy?" No, there's rules, you got to follow them, right? And I think even though when I say it that way, it's obvious to all of you. I do feel like sometimes people think that there's a little bit more leeway on the online test. There isn't, right? So basically, we encourage people to take the online test if they are willing to follow the instructions, just like I guess you got to follow the instructions for any of them. But sometimes I think people may have a little bit more difficulty internalizing those instructions for an online test. That's why I put that one up there. Anyway, for the on-demand, you value convenience over prizes, right? So like I said, there's no prizes for the on-demand test, but you can take it any time of the day, which is nice. You're comfortable reading and following a written instruction. So remember, unlike in-person and online contests, you're going to be in charge of your own experience with an on-demand test. So you have to be able to read and follow the instructions. We'll do our part. We'll create the right instructions for you. You just have to make sure that you are paying attention, that you're following through on it. Okay. It definitely helps if you're familiar with our online test system already, because like I showed you, this system that we have here we're going to be using the same platform for the on-demand test. And of course, like I've mentioned before, if you have a very large group and you want to tap into volume discounts, the on-demand test is going to be the way to do that. All right. So, and I know that, and this may not apply to any of you, but as I'm looking through here, I do see a couple teachers that are in the room here who I know have sent, upwards of 50 students to a contest in the past. The on-demand test basically gives you a chance to run a test for hundreds of students if you want. So anyway, if that's you, if you're, and this is a very niche experience for this particular product, but if that's you, we're definitely interested in talking to you. We'll set you up a deal where we can have you take, have 300 students from your school take the test at a very low rate, so that you can afford to send them all to our tests. So that's one of the things we're most excited about, right? Is the ability to automate things so much that we can offer these kind of discounts. And one of the things that I had on the previous slide, I believe, that I didn't mention, is right down here at the bottom. The fact that this is going to be automated means that we can actually run an introductory offer here that is going to allow us to get these tests out to a bunch of people. So we're going to be contacting all of our people in countries outside the U.S. And for every country outside the U.S., the first 50 students from that country are going to get a free entry into our on-demand test system. So we're going to be using that as a way to try to get more countries involved, so that we can have a more diverse representation at our international championship. It's kind of a low stakes way for some of these new countries to get involved in Math League if they haven't seen our test before. It's not going to cost them anything, and they can do it on their own time. And hopefully that'll get them interested in taking further tests. So yeah, it's stuff like that we can do with an on-demand test, because the automation allows us to do it. So that's great. All right, I do want to talk a little bit now about awards. So if you have any questions about the on-demand test system, just let me know. So for the awards, I want to show you our medals, and these are our medals. You can kind of hear them clanking together, maybe, if my microphone is picking that up. So we have created we've created bronze medals and then silver medals and gold medals. You'll notice that they're all the same size. They have a Math League. They have a Math League lanyard attached to them, and we were just really pleased with the quality that we got from our distributor in Indonesia for these, and so we're going to be gradually shipping more and more of these over to the U.S. So that we can distribute these as prizes. So anyway, so we're going to actually have the medals replace the trophies as prizes for online qualifying rounds. The flip side of that is because we've got the medals now, and we're actually able to, we're going to be able to ship the medals a lot cheaper than we could ship the trophies, which means that we no longer have to have a limit, right? Remember when we were doing trophies for the online contest, you could only get a trophy up to a certain place. Medals are going to be available to anyone who to anyone who could claim another prize, right? So in other words, if you're eligible to claim a book or a contest entry, you're going to be able to claim a medal as a prize, right? So we're not going to have the top 6 restriction that we did for the trophies, and so that's one of the advantages that we can have for the medals. I want to tell you a little bit about the idea behind the medals. All right, so I said that anybody who's eligible for a prize can choose a medal. Well, how do you know which medal you get? This is where it gets fun, and this is all explained on our prize page, which I believe is over here. All right, we've actually got a picture of the medals, and here's a description of how you can get one of the medals. So basically, remember there's 2 different ways that you can qualify. Like, let's say you go to a local contest in November or whatever, right? There's 2 different ways you can qualify for state from a given event. You can either be in the top 20% of that test scores for your grade level, or you can get 50% of the questions correct. Now, I recognize that in some markets, this is a little bit backwards, but in most places where we run contests, it's a lot easier to get in the top 20% than it is to get a score of 50% or higher. That's why we have a distinction here between the bronze and silver medals. So basically, if you qualify based on your rank, in other words, you're top 20%, or if you're at a district or state championship, and the top 3 or the top 6 get to move on, that's a bronze medal for you. If you get 50% of the questions correct, which again, for most of our states, that this is the higher bar to reach, getting 50% correct on one of the tests earns you a silver medal. And if you get a perfect score on a test, that's where the gold medal comes in. Right, so we're going to be giving away a lot fewer gold medals than we do of the others, but that's kind of the point. And we figure after having seen some of these, especially we've already started giving these out in person over the last week and a half. I was at various contests in Arizona and Texas over the last week and giving out some medals, and we think people are going to want to start collecting sets of these and trying to go for the gold medal and that sort of thing. So anyway, basically, when you earn a prize, you'll have different medals to choose from. If you get a perfect score, obviously all 3 of the medals are going to be an option for you. We'll send you a gold medal, like it says here. By default, if you ask for a medal and you don't specify, and you're like, well, you could get gold or silver or bronze, we'll send you the gold one. Or if you're eligible for a bronze or a silver but not a gold, we'll send you the silver. But we recognize that sometimes people might want a different one, right? Like, let's say you already have a silver medal, and and this next one you could get either a silver or bronze. Well, now you can pick the bronze one if you want. So anyway, a lot more flexibility. It's going to be a lot easier to ship these, a lot faster to ship the medals, and we're really excited about the quality of the medals as well. So anyway, that's our big new announcement about a prize, is the existence of the medals, and like I said, anybody who's eligible for a prize will be able to claim a medal. Medals will be available at some of our in-person contests. It just depends on whether the contest director has medals available. Like if they have them with them, like I did last week, they'll hand them out. Otherwise, they can be requested as a prize, and we mail those out of our Houston office, and we'll get those to you a lot faster than we were ever able to get the trophies. That's for sure. So that's good. Next thing is we've kind of brought into balance. So this is maybe not affect as many people, but we've brought some things into balance a little bit more. We used to have basically $20 worth of a registration credit for a future contest as one of our prizes, and another prize was a contest problem set, which is something we sell on our website for $10. We've basically reversed the values of those, right? So on balance, nothing, on balance, everything sums out to be the same. But what we did is we kind of brought those into balance a little bit more, so that you're getting approximately the same value out of both of those prizes at this point, right? So now instead of having $20 to apply towards a contest, you get $10 if you want. But on the flip side, instead of getting one contest set, which has always been a prize, you could like say, oh, I want last February's elementary contest or whatever, right? Instead of just getting one, you'll now get two, right? So we've cut the one prize in half, we've doubled the other prize, and the net result is no real change, but we're kind of balancing the prizes a little bit better. A lot of this is kind of lining up with our philosophy with prizes. I mean, if you look at our overall prize listings, you'll notice that the highest value prizes are the ones that are an educational experience. Right, $25 off number sensor relay challenge, $100 off a class, right? So I mean, we're offering huge amounts of value on those because those are the things that we want to incentivize those more, right? We want students to pick the educational opportunities, and the giving out two contest problem sets instead of one, we think might help encourage students to pick more of those. And of course, the aftermath is also $25 value, and so that's another one of those educational experiences. So anyway, just a slight adjustment there that I wanted to bring up. Okay, so that's a little bit about what we're doing differently with the awards. Like I said, with the medals, you may or may not see medals at an in-person contest. Largely depends on what city you're in and whether we have had a chance to get medals shipped to your contest director. But for students who are eligible for medals but don't get one at the contest that they attend in person, they can always select one as an online prize as a prize. Let's see, I had 3 tabs here. This tab I didn't use yet. Basically, the only thing I wanted to point out with this tab is that we have included language on our scheduling now that confirms that we'll be splitting the states out again. All right, so and this is, I think, particularly useful for people who have experienced that in the past when we would have separate event for every state, and then this year they're noticing that we haven't done that. Like I said, we're going to be retroactively doing that for all of our contests this year, and moving forward, we'll be splitting those states out before we post results, so that by the time the results come up, you'll be able to see how you did just against your own state. And keep in mind, of course, on the results tab, we also have some information about how to compare your scores against everybody who took the test, right? So there's you can look up your own state or your own event number, but you can also look up everybody who's taken that release. So you'll still be able to see the results both ways effectively. All right, so those are the big things, right? Splitting out the states so that we can have more students earning prizes, more students qualifying for state. We've got the on-demand test system that I'm announcing now, but will be fully live on February 27th, so that you can actually take the round 5 tests on demand if you want, once you read through the instructions on February 27th. And then just a couple of changes that we made with the price structure, including giving out medals now. So having said that, that is all was a new material that I had that I needed to present today. So let me go ahead and open up the chat at this point. So if any of you have any questions, and by the way, feel free to head out at any time if you like, now that I've gone through all this information. But if you want to stick around and see what some of the questions are that other people had, feel free to stick around as well. And of course, those of you who have questions, the chat is set up now so that you should be able to chat directly to me privately, and then I can answer those questions. So I'm sure that we'll see some questions coming in, and let me just read through those, and I'll get to those as we can. All right. Okay, so I gotta hold on a second. All right, let me just hop off the mic in the video real quick, and while I read through some of these chats that are coming in, and then I'll be right back to answer some of these questions for you. All right, so let me go through a few of these questions that I've found. The first question I got was from somebody who's asking about the possibility of having two different national rankings. So, given what I mentioned earlier about our commitment to holding a hybrid nationals, we are aware that some other contests have actually done something like splitting out awards, separate awards for in-person versus the online participants. Our philosophy is very firmly this: if you are the national champion, you are the national champion. We're not. We are firmly committed to recognizing who is the first place student nationally, not the first place student who chose to go here for a contest versus the first place student who chose to go there. Right. In other words, our philosophy is that if we're going to hold a national championship, it's going to be a truly national, truly championship. So, in other words, we are not planning to split out any awards into separate categories for online versus in person. When somebody goes to look up the results, in fact, this is very integral to what we mean by the definition of a hybrid contest. We mean that when somebody goes to look up the results after the contest is over, they're going to see one list of results, and they're not even going to be able to tell who took the test online versus in person. Right? We feel that anything other than that would effectively turn it into two separate national championships, and we're not interested in running two separate national championships because we want to be able to. We want a student who wins the national championship to say they were the national champion, not just a national champion. Now, the follow-up question that I got from this was, how do you account for the difference in the testing conditions? The way we account for it is that everybody gets their choice. All right. So if you feel like the online students are going to have an advantage, then by all means, take the test online, because we don't want to hear you complain if you choose to be in person and then you're like, but the online students had it better. Why didn't you do the online? And it works exactly in reverse too, right? If you think the in-person students have an advantage, then I don't want to hear you complain if you chose to do it online. If you really think there's an advantage to doing it in person, get yourself to the in-person site. I hate to be so blunt about it, but that's how it works, right? In other words, we're giving you the choice, and so you get to pick. If you think one of them's better, pick the better one. If you think they're the same, fine. But when it boils down to it, the fact that we're giving everybody the choice and they can take the test in the way that is best for them, we feel that that gives them, we feel that that gives everybody the best possible chance to have a valid experience for themselves. I've got a couple questions about the internationals, the international championships. I don't know if I made it clear enough earlier. We are working on some information about international championships, and we're looking to make a big announcement about that by the end of February. So we may have another one of these meetings like that, depending on how much information we want to share about the international finals. But for those of you who are outside the U.S., we are working on that, and we're going to try to get some information out to you as quickly as possible, because we know you're going to want to make some plans. The one thing I can tell you, for those of you who are outside the U.S., I did mention earlier that your national championships would be in late April, early May. Also wanted to, and those will be either online or in person, depending on on what is going on with your, within your country, and the decisions that are made by your regional coordinator. What I will tell you is that the international championships will definitely be hybrid, just like our U.S. national championships are, in the sense that not everyone, in the sense that people will not be required to travel to the site for the international championship, but we are planning to have an in-person component for those who want to travel in person. That's all I can say right now about the international championship. I can say that it will be in July. That's another thing I can say for sure. Okay. How do you somebody's asking about test security for the on-demand contest. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, that's one of the things that if we're going to do an on-demand contest, there are sacrifices that we're going to have to make, in the sense that we cannot watch every student as they take the test. So we're going to deputize the parents and teachers to do that, but we also recognize that because we're not directly monitoring them, it is possible that there are some test security breaches. Because of that, that's why we are not releasing the on-demand option until after all of the actual contests are done in a given month, and that's also why we're not giving prizes for the on-demand option. Right. So the idea is if somebody wants to, if we're not giving prizes, there's less of an incentive for people to try to game the system. And if they, if they do something, they break some rules and end up, qualifying for state through this on-demand test, nobody else has lost anything, right? Like if we get a student who's no good at math, and they I don't know, let's say they cheat their way into qualifying for state at the on-demand contest. How's that going to hurt you, right? So in other words, nobody's really a victim there except the person who decided to cheat. But they're going to find out quickly enough when they get to state that the cheating didn't actually pay off now, did it? So that's basically our philosophy behind that, right? We're going to rely on faith in the human spirit. There are good people out there, but we recognize that that's not entirely true, and that there is certainly a possibility that people will be trying to game the system with the on-demand test. That's why we have put into place the safeguards that we have. One of the things that this also relates to is the in-school test, right? Because I know people have asked before, well, with the in-school test, what's to prevent somebody from coming in later and changing their answers or whatever? That's actually one of the improvements we've made, and I've been in touch with several teachers within the last 24 hours about this. We've been telling people to ask for an expiring password so that their students can enter their test data. Now, with the system that I've just shown you, we don't need to give expiring passwords anymore, because once the student has started the test, if it's a sprint test, 40 minutes later, it's done and they can't get back in. So we actually have added some security there on top of what we've had working in the past for things like online contests and in-school contests. We're definitely aware of different issues and what people have tried in the past, and we are actively working at making sure that those behaviors are shall we say, disincentivized. All right. So what other questions do we have? Online contests. Somebody's asking about what the requirements are. So there's actually let's see, Michael, you're a co-host. If you're still paying attention, I'd like for you to type in the URL for the online contest system, just mathleague.org/online. If you can put that in the chat, this will be a direct response to the person who is asking about how to participate in the online contest. Students are able to log in from home if their parents are supervising them, or they can. Sometimes we have teachers who run a contest in their school, and the teachers are supervising a bunch of students at the same time. Lots of different ways to do it. The main thing is, Michael, you're going to want to just do online.php, not online test entry.php. So the main thing with the online contest is that the students will be required to be on camera, whether that's as part of a big classroom or just individually in their own homes. So yeah, if you go to mathleague.org/online, you'll be able to see some additional information about how that all works. And then, of course, if you still have questions, because I know this person in particular mentioned that they had not been in an online contest before. If you still have questions after taking a look at that website, definitely send us an email, and we'd love to help you out there. Are we going to be doing in-person contests in Southern California? We've done several so far, but I don't know if we have any further on the agenda for qualifying rounds. What I will say is, first off, I know for a lot of schools, for one reason or another, it's slow going getting back into the swing of holding events in person, particularly outside events. So we find that a lot of the places, and I will be honest, this is more true in California than it has been in a lot of other parts of the country. It's just harder to get back into these buildings that we had no trouble getting into back in 2019 or 2018. The good news, of course, is that not only do we continue to have an online test option every single month for every student, but now we're also going to have an on-demand test option every month for every student. So lots of ways to participate if you don't have an in-person contest nearby. However, if you're looking for an in-person contest nearby, the easiest way to make sure that there is one is to contact us and say, hey, come run a contest at my school. And we would love to send some people there to run a contest at your school. So just let us know. All right, next up, somebody's asking about the free trial, right? So you all know that this is all public parts of our website that I'm going to be scrolling around here, so I'm not going to reveal anything you shouldn't see. But if we go to let's see, somewhere, where is it? I know we've got some free tests. Here we go. Join our mailing list, get free samples, right? So this is a thing we've had on our website for a long time, right? You fill out this form and you get free PDFs of our contest. Well, it turns out that this trial of the on-demand test system that we're going to offer, it's going to use one of those tests that we have been giving out as samples, right? I mentioned that to you before. It was this test I'm showing you today was test 12210. That was last year's in-school middle school test. So yeah, we're actually going to have over time, we'll actually have all of the tests that are available as free sample PDFs on our website. We're going to put them up on the on-demand system as well, so that you can access the test that way if you want, and certainly everybody will then be able to try out the system. And I know that's something a lot of people have been asking us about over the last couple of years, and we're super happy to finally have a system where people will be able to try it out. They'll be able to actually go through the process of putting a password in, answering questions, hitting the submit button or not, depending, and actually seeing how the thing works. So that all should be live on the same day as the on-demand system goes live, which will be February 27th. The on-demand, somebody's asking about on-demand available for state and nationals. Yeah. Again, the point of, if we're not giving away prizes for an on-demand contest, and it's really just a qualifying round, we are even going to plan on putting a disclaimer on our website when you look at the on-demand results, that these are unsupervised, where they're supervised by parents and teachers, not by Math League staff. um, you know so so it'll be clear that these were not taken under the same conditions. Anyway, the question that somebody has is, would on demand be available for state and nationals? No, absolutely not. We're going to make, as we have done since the beginning of the pandemic, we're going to make sure that anybody who's not sitting in the room with us, that we at least have somebody watching a camera feed the entire time that they're taking the test, so that there's no chance of any funny business at state or nationals. Like I said, we are planning to do as many state contests as possible in person, but the ones that we can't, we'll do those online. And yeah, we're going to have the same rigorous standards that we always have had for both the in-person and the online contests at state and nationals. All right. I hope that answers the question about on demand at state and nationals. But yeah, that's not something that we're remotely contemplating. Everybody's going to be taking those. Everybody who's going for prizes is going to be taking those at the same time, and monitored very closely on their cameras. I do also want to mention. I probably should have mentioned this earlier when I talked about the calendar for the rest of the year. We've pretty much decided to permanently move towards a system where there is a makeup test for districts and states. This is not a chance to win prizes. This is not a chance to skip the state meet and then come in 2 weeks later and be like, haha, look, I'm now the state champion. No, you don't show up to state, you're not the state champion. That's just the bottom line of it. You could be the best student in your state, but you're not going to be the state champion if you didn't actually show up to your state meet. But let's just say, and and I'll be, I'll use my own experience here. When I was in high school, I was in marching band in a Texas high school, and that tells you something, right? That tells you that a lot of my weekends were planned out for me long before I had a chance to have any say in it, right? So, it was not uncommon at all for me to have to miss a math contest at some point, because it was required for my participation in marching band that I be at this football game at whatever time or whatever, right? And it all worked out, but I get it, and we understand. There's sometimes there are conflicts, and sometimes the conflicts are more urgent than others, right? I mean, oh, my younger brother has a piano recital at the same time as state. Go to state. I mean, but like if you really feel like you want to go to the piano recital, we've got you covered. But the real reason we have this makeup option is for people who are like, oh, I can't go to state math league because because I have national science bowl or science olympiad or something at the same time. Okay, we actually want you to go to the nationals for the other thing rather than our state meet. Okay, if it comes down to it, by all means. But we don't want you to miss out on a chance to go to our nationals for that. That's why we have a makeup exam. The makeup exam is not for us to plug you into the results for your state. You're not going to be state champion if you take that makeup exam, because you're not going to get ranked against the students in your own state. What will happen though is that we'll take those results and we'll see if you're that good that you could wild card your way into nationals. Then great, we'll put you on the wild card list, right? So it's designed to be a very unappealing option, right? That's just, I'll be frank with you on that. We don't want people taking the makeup test for state. We want people going to the real state meet. But we also understand, right, that sometimes it's just impossible to get around a schedule conflict. And so even though our makeup test is not a really good option, we designed it that way because we don't want you just choosing to do the makeup test. We have it available if it's an absolute emergency. And the other thing is so important that it's more important than going to your state meet for Math League, and there's no way you can get out of that. Hey, we got you covered. And that's the way Math League has always been. I know a lot of you go back, with us many years, and we've always been the one contest that reaches out to other contests to try to avoid schedule conflicts. And so that's what the makeup test is all about. Read the information on our website. Let me know, if you've got any other questions about that here, or you can contact customer care later. But yeah, so there is a makeup test basically for district or state. If you can't make it to your district or state meet, you can take a makeup test as a chance, not for prizes or recognition within your own state, but at least as a chance to qualify on to the next level if you get that good of a score. All right, looks like I am almost down to the bottom of the questions here. If you have any other questions, folks, by all means, keep them coming. I can stick around for at least 15 more minutes if there are questions for me to answer. Okay, so somebody, I'm just going to scroll up here, double check who this. Okay, so we've got somebody who is following up on something from before. Okay. Yeah, somebody's saying, well, what about a hybrid nationals and test security? All right, and they're specifically saying they wanted to bring this up because we talked about test security with the on-demand test, right? So yeah, again, that's one of the reasons why there's no on-demand test for like a championship round. But yeah, as far as the nationals go, we actually have, if you haven't been to one of our hybrid nationals, and we only did it 1 year so far, right? So I get it if you haven't seen it, how it works yet. But we actually have extra precautions, extra test security measures that we're forcing the online participants to take. So it's actually a level above what we do at the regular online contests. So yeah, we've put a lot of thought into, what can we do to make things as equivalent as possible in terms of testing security between the online and the in-person test participants. So in fact, that's one of the reasons, and I here's the funny thing about I was talking earlier about, if you think that the online people have it easier, take it online. If you think the in-person have it easier, take it in person. The interesting thing is, we were trying to figure this out last year when we were deciding about a hybrid system. Is there a clear advantage to one or the other? And it was interesting that some of our staff, you would say, no, it is very clear that the online people have an advantage. Other staff members would say, no, it's very clear that the in-person people have an advantage, right? And they were both so sure of their positions that they couldn't even understand that the other person would have that opinion. Turns out, we get the same thing from our participants, right? There are some participants who are so sure that taking the in-person test is so much better that they would never consider taking an online test if they had an option. And then we get the exact reverse of it too. But anyway, yeah, as far as a hybrid contest, we recognize that the security measures are different, but we're trying to make them as comparable as possible, so that there's no reason from a testing security standpoint to choose whether to go in person or online, right? We want to make that as equal as possible. We want to make the requirements as strict as for both of them, so that nobody feels like there's any sort of an advantage one way or the other. All right. Somebody's asking about nationals for 2023. Have we figured that out? Well, the dates are on our website, and the details. So first off, plan on it being roughly the same as it was last year. The main difference is that we are going to be doing the middle school a couple weeks earlier than we did last year, because we just didn't have an opportunity to do the middle school any earlier last year. But we wanted the middle school nationals to be a little bit farther away from Math Counts Nationals, and that's why we're moving that up a couple weeks this year. But as far as where they are, as far as the cities, possibly even the venues, roughly the same this year for nationals, and the dates are on the website, so you can check those out. Somebody's asking about regional coordinators controlling the passwords for the trials. No, nobody's controlling the trials, not even me. Everybody that wants to take a sample test on our website, that's the one I'm showing you here, right? This event number 10049. Anybody's going to be able to do that. Somebody's asking me if teachers or national coordinators can restrict who can go on that. No, not at all. I'm not going to be restricting anybody from that, and I'm not going to allow anybody else to restrict people. Every human being on the planet who wants to access this free trial will absolutely be able to do that. All right. Okay. Getting a question specifically from contest directors about when they can release the test, given the fact that we have the on-demand thing going. I would let me get in touch with you about that, because we need to we're going to need to coordinate that and possibly even have a staff meeting about how to do that. So as far as when you can send out the test questions as a contest director, now that we're doing this on-demand test, we'll follow up with you on that. All right. Looks like Michael has posted in the chat the links to our event pages. If you go all the way to the bottom of each of those, maybe not all the way to the bottom, but like towards the bottom, you'll be able to see the U.S. Nationals, and you'll be able to see that we have dates and we have a placeholder website for each of them. We don't have details just yet because we want you to focus on getting to state first, and then once you've gone to state, then those links will be available and you'll be able to start signing up for nationals. All right, so I've gotten through all the questions that I see here. If anybody has any other questions, I'll give you about half a minute to start typing. And if I don't see any other questions, I'll go ahead and close out the room. So all of you are, again, free to leave if you like, or if you think that somebody might be asking an interesting question now, and if it just hasn't happened yet, feel free to stick around for a few more seconds. But thanks so much for coming out, everybody. I'm glad that we were able to share some new information with you about some exciting new programs that we have, and look forward to rolling those out. And good luck to all of your students this year.